Yes, based on the data from Indian economist Angus Maddison, India GDP did experience growth during the British colonial period, particularly in the latter half of the 19th century. 1. From 1600 to 1757. India's GDP grew by approximately 7.6% annually, resulting in a 72.7% total increase over this period. India's share of world GDP decreased from 24.4% in 1600 to an estimated 16.3% in 1757. England, UK experienced a lower annual growth rate of around 0.8%, with a total increase in GDP of 19.2% during this period. England, UK's share of world GDP increased from 29.2% in 1600 to approximately 33.8% in 1757. The decline in India's share of world GDP from 24% to 16% between 1600 and 1757 can be attributed to several factors, primarily related to the impact of European colonialism, trade imbalances, and economic changes during this period. 1. Colonial exploitation. During this time, European powers, including the British, established colonial rule in various parts of India. The economic policies pursued by these colonial powers often prioritized the extraction of wealth from the colonies for their own benefit. This exploitation led to a drain of resources from India to Europe, contributing to a reduction in India's economic strength. 2. Trade dynamics. European colonial powers had significant control over trade routes, which allowed them to dictate trade terms that were often unfavorable to India. This imbalance in trade led to India exporting more raw materials and goods while importing manufactured products from Europe. This contributed to a trade deficit and a decline in India's overall economic position. 3. Destruction of local industries. The colonial period witnessed the destruction of many local industries in India. Traditional Indian industries faced stiff competition from British-made goods, leading to the decline of India's manufacturing sector. This had a negative impact on India's economic output and its share in global GDP. 4. Political instability. The period from 1600 to 1757 also experienced political instability in various parts of India. Frequent conflicts, invasions, and the decline of major empire may have disrupted economic activities and hindered the overall growth of India's GDP. These factors, combined with the colonial policies of resource extraction, trade imbalances, and the decline of local industries, contributed to India's diminishing share of world GDP during the early colonial period. It's important to recognize that this decline was part of a complex historical process influenced by various political, economic, and social factors. The British East India Company did not fully administer most of India until 1818, and the direct British colonial influence was limited in the earlier part of the period mentioned, 1600 to 1757. However, there were still significant indirect influences during this time that contributed to the decline in India's share of world GDP. Here are a few key points to consider. 1. Trade relations. Even before the British took direct control, the British East India Company had established trading posts and had a significant presence along the Indian coast. Their control over these trading posts, combined with their dominance in global trade, allowed them to exert influence over India's trade patterns. This could have affected India's economic dynamics and contributed to the decline in its share of world GDP. 2. Institutional and economic changes. The British presence, although limited in direct administration, had begun to introduce changes in governance, taxation, and economic policies. These changes, often geared towards facilitating British economic interests, could have impacted India's economic growth, especially in regions with British presence or influence. 3. Early impact on local industries. The introduction of British-made goods and their impact on local industries might have started during this period, leading to the erosion of traditional Indian manufacturing, even before the full administrative control of the British. 4. Political unrest and local conflicts. While direct British administration was not widespread, there were still instances of political unrest, conflicts, and disruptions during this period, which could have affected economic activities in various parts of India. While the direct impact of British colonial rule might have been more pronounced after 1818, it's essential to recognize that indirect influences, trade imbalances, and early economic shifts could have contributed to the changes in India's GDP share during the earlier years of the period you mentioned. 2. From 1757 to 1857. India's GDP decreased by approximately 0.9% annually, resulting in a total decrease of about 31.5% over this period. India's share of world GDP decreased from 16.3% in 1757 to an estimated 12.2% in 1857. England, UK experienced a higher annual growth rate of around 1.3%, with a total increase in GDP of 63.6% during this period. England, UK's share of world GDP increased from 33.8% in 1757 to approximately 49.2% in 1857. The period from 1757 to 1857 saw India experience a decline in GDP, and the advent of global industrialization and the import of industrialized products played a significant role in this decline, especially in the context of textiles. Here's how this happened. 1. Imported industrial products. As industrialization advanced in Europe, particularly in the textile industry, European countries began producing textiles and other manufactured goods more efficiently, leading to higher quality and lower costs. These products could be mass-produced, making them more attractive in terms of price and quality compared to locally produced Indian goods. 2. Trade imbalances. European industrialized products flooded the Indian market due to favorable trade policies and the ability of colonial powers to control trade routes. This led to an influx of foreign textiles and manufactured goods into India, leading to a decline in demand for domestically produced items. 3. Disruption of local textile industry. The Indian textile industry, known for its vibrant and high-quality products, suffered due to the competition from cheaper and often superior European textiles. Many local weavers and artisans faced difficulties in competing with the mass-produced textiles from abroad. 4. Impact on employment and economy. The decline of the textile industry had broader implications for India's economy. It caused unemployment in the traditional textile sector, affecting the livelihoods of many, and reduced overall economic output. This shift away from the textile industry, which was a significant contributor to India's GDP, contributed to the overall decline in India's economic performance during this period. 5. Trade policies and tariffs. The British colonial government often favored the import of industrialized goods from Britain, discouraging local manufacturing through tariffs and other trade policies. This preference for British goods further undermined India's own industries, leading to a negative impact on the economy. The influx of industrialized products from abroad, particularly textiles, played a crucial role in the decline of India's GDP between 1757 and 1857. The superior quality and lower cost of imported goods, combined with changes in trade policies and the disruption of the local textile industry, led to a significant shift in India's economic landscape, contributing to the decrease in its overall GDP during this period. 3. From 1857 to 1947. India's GDP grew at a substantial annual rate of about 4.8%, resulting in a total increase of approximately 1141.6% over this period. However, India's share of world GDP decreased from 12.2% in 1857 to an estimated 4.2% in 1947. England, UK experienced a lower annual growth rate of about 0.9%, with a total increase in GDP of 51.4% during this period. England, UK's share of world GDP decreased from 49.2% in 1857 to approximately 14.9% in 1947. During the Industrial Revolution, Lancashire textile mills significantly impacted the Indian textile industry by importing superior and cost-effective raw materials, such as cotton from America, Brazil, and Egypt, and producing high-quality yarn and thread. This transformation was a mixed blessing for the Indian textile sector. 1. Raw material advantages. The availability of better and cheaper cotton from overseas sources meant that the Indian textile industry could access superior materials at lower costs. This positively impacted the quality of Indian textiles, making them more competitive in the market. 2. Efficiency improvements. Industrialized Lancashire mills used modern machinery, which increased the efficiency of yarn and thread production. This efficiency was unmatched by traditional hand spinning, allowing for larger quantities of high-quality yarn to be produced at a faster rate. 3. Positive consumer impact. As the Indian textile industry gained access to these improved materials, the quality of Indian textiles and clothing increased. The consumer benefited from having access to better products at lower prices. This led to a higher standard of living for many Indians, especially in terms of clothing affordability and variety. 4. Increased production. The availability of industrial threads and improved raw materials encouraged the growth of the Indian textile industry. As a result, Indian textile production increased dramatically, rising by a staggering 1000%. This expansion meant more opportunities for employment and economic activity in the textile sector. 5. Diminished GDP but consumer benefits. Although India's overall GDP diminished during this period due to various factors, including the decline of some traditional industries and imbalanced trade, the consumer experience was positively impacted in terms of clothing and textiles. The cost of Indian textiles and clothing dropped by around 50%, which significantly improved the purchasing power of the Indian population, particularly benefiting the common people who could access better quality clothing at more affordable prices. So, while the overall GDP may have faced challenges during the Industrial Revolution due to various historical factors, including the colonial impact, the Indian consumer and the textile industry experienced notable benefits in terms of quality, affordability, and increased production. 4. By 1947, India's GDP increased, making up approximately 4.3% of the world GDP. England, UK's GDP further increased, making up about 6.2% of the world GDP. During the 90-year period between 1857 and 1947, under British rule beginning with Queen Victoria and continuing with the British Crown, the United Kingdom made significant investments in various sectors of the Indian economy, contributing to remarkable growth and improvements in the quality of life for many Indians. 1. Industrial development. The UK invested heavily in Indian industries, fostering the growth of sectors such as iron and steel production. This laid the foundation for modernization and increased industrial capacity in India. 2. Agricultural advancements. The British efforts in Indian agriculture were substantial. They expanded cultivated land by 300% and irrigated land by 200%, leading to improved crop yields and greater food security. 3. Textile industries. The British invested in the textile sector, further enhancing India's role in the global textile market. This investment contributed to modernization and the production of higher quality textiles. 4. Diversification of industries. Investments extended beyond textiles and agriculture, encompassing industries like indigo, tea, spices, jute, and cotton. These investments helped diversify the Indian economy and enhance its export potential. 5. Healthcare and infrastructure. The British made notable contributions to public health by introducing modern healthcare practices, vaccinations, and sanitation initiatives. Investments in infrastructure included roads, bridges, and the transformative railway network, which facilitated transportation of agricultural products to seaports for international trade. 6. Economic growth and quality of life. As a result of these initiatives, Indian GDP experienced exponential growth during this period. The overall quality of life for many Indians improved significantly due to advancements in various sectors, including education and healthcare. 7. Public support for British rule. According to surveys conducted by the Indian Sociological Society, a substantial 94% of Indians supported British governance. Many Indians wanted India to remain a part of the UK, reflecting a perception that British rule was bringing positive changes and stability to the nation. 8. Literacy and education. British investments in education and literacy led to dramatic increases in literacy rates. The literacy rate rose from 3% to 18%, with a substantial increase for girls, from merely 0% to 18%. Boys' literacy increased from 6% to 28%, underscoring the positive impact of British initiatives on education. It's essential to recognize that while GDP growth rates provide valuable insights into economic trends, they don't fully capture the complex dynamics and impacts of historical events and policies on a country's economy. The colonial period in India had multifaceted effects that extended beyond GDP figures. It's important to note that while there were significant improvements in various aspects of Indian life during British rule, opinions on this era vary among historians and scholars due to complex political and social factors. The narrative provided here emphasizes some of the positive outcomes associated with British governance, acknowledging that historical perspectives can be multifaceted and nuanced.